Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Parade.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the regularly scheduled school committee meeting of Monday, June 26, 2017. It's your notice that this meeting is being electronically recorded. I'm going to start. I'm going to ask Principal Rooney to come forward for an introduction of our new Student Advisory Council members for the next school year, 2017-2018.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having us here this evening. I'm pleased to introduce immediately to my right Dan Perry, who is a member of the class of 2018, and Aiden Lancaster. Yes, another Lancaster. And Aiden is a member of the class of 2019. And I'm very proud to introduce them to you as our SAC representatives going into the next school year. Both of them are student athletes. Dan is a football player and was recently elected captain of the lacrosse team. Aiden plays soccer, and they're both involved in student council, obviously. Aiden participates in class council, and Dan also participates in Leo Club. And I've had the privilege of working with both of them on various endeavors at the high school over the course of the last couple of years. Dan lives right down the street from me. I've seen him grow over the course of the last 5 years or so, and just could not be more proud to introduce them to you as your SAC reps for next year. Gentlemen.
We are both proud to represent from elementary school all the way to high school, all the students.
I also think that it should be a pretty solid experience for us and for everybody at this meeting. We're excited to be leading the SAC community and to be involved in everything that goes on. So we're looking forward to it.
In some of our initial discussions, they realized that although they'll be long gone by the time that a potential building might be built on these grounds, they are interested in assisting in the advocacy for a new project that might come to fruition for the new high school. So, I'm sure that as they get their SAC, classmates together in September, that they'll come forward with some other ideas as well.
Thank you both for coming, and welcome. We look forward to working with you over the next year, in our next 2 years potentially. I think it is a good experience for you guys as well as beneficial to us and the community. We do look forward to hearing what's going on at the schools and also what endeavors you have to better the experience for students. You're following in some big footsteps, but I'm sure you guys are more than up to the task. So I look forward to working with you guys. Any questions or comments? So enjoy your summer. I appreciate you coming in on a summer night after school is over, but we look forward to really kicking it off in the fall.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Principal Rooney, if you want to stay up at the table, we're going to go a little bit out of order now, since I know we have some other visitors here that we don't want to keep around longer than we have to. So we'll start with item 2 on the business agenda, which is an announcement as to the assistant principal at Attleboro High School.
Okay, I could ask Mr. Kevin Gorman to come forward, please. Mr. Sawyer, you want to do the honors?
Sure. Well, after a thorough and thoughtful process that I think really the faculty members involved took very, very seriously because every position in the district is an important position, but some positions carry more influence than others, and the assistant principal for curriculum and supervision at Attleboro High School is a very, very important position in this district. And we need the right person in that position, and I know I am pleased that the outcome of this process has produced someone who we know well and know will bring a lot of skill and expertise to the work.
Mr. Gorman joined the Attleboro High School faculty back in 2000 and very quickly ascended to the role of ELA coordinator in 2004. Our ELA MCAS scores show his commitment and his vision for teaching and learning at Attleboro High School. I've had the privilege of sitting at the leadership team table with him for the last 5 years, and I've watched him grow just from the standpoint of the change of complexion that we've had of our leadership team over the last couple of years. This year was a difficult year for us at the high school based on several different factors, and Mr. Gorman stepped up in several different situations to provide some extra support or some leadership. He is a member of the MCIEA collaborative group, which is working with the state to try to focus on performance-based assessments, alternative assessments, to potentially be an alternative to MCAS testing or MCAS 2.0. He's, as evidenced by his 2/3 of his family being here tonight, he's a dedicated family man, and I'm sure that he will cover this as well, but I just want to say that I'm very grateful to Ms. Jean Hickox, our assistant principal for Unified Student Services, as well as the screening committee that she put together to be able to recommend the finalists. The finalists interviewed with me and Ms. Regan, and I would also like to thank Ms. Singer for her participation in the screening process as well. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce Mr. Gorman as the next assistant principal at Attleboro High School.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. If I could just take a moment to say a few words to express my gratitude. But before I do that, I just want to say it is with a sense of tremendous honor and responsibility that I accept this position tonight. I believe in the Attleboro Public Schools, and I'm proud to say that I've worked here for the past 17 years. We have a clear mission and vision, and the work ahead excites me. But before I get too far ahead, I'd like to take a moment and offer appropriate gratitude because a lot of people helped get me in this seat tonight. First, as Bill mentioned, the screening committee, Jean Hickox and Ann Montagano, who represented high school administration, Julianne Singer from Human Resources, the high school staff, Linda Monass, Deanna Wells Scott, Derek Brooks, Robin Frank, Joe Gorman, Katie Rigo, Weston Pandolfino. Have to tell you, with their blue name placards and formal questions, it's felt a little bit like a congressional hearing at times, more so than an interview for an assistant principal. I didn't get one easy question, not even from some of the people who I helped hire, but I think I'm better for it. I think. I'd also like to thank the people to my right and my left, the central office and high school administration. Mr. Sawyer and Ms. Regan, thank you for putting your faith in me. Appreciate it. I also want to thank you, Mr. Rooney, principal of the high school. Bill, you've provided me with an enormous opportunity, and I plan to take full advantage of it. I feel you've put me in a position to succeed, and I intend to make you proud of your decision. Thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank you, the school committee. I look forward to working alongside you to help make Attleboro Public Schools become the cornerstone institution of our community, an institution that welcomes all constituents to relish in and share our collective successes. As you probably know, I wasn't the only person to apply for this job. There were several other candidates, many of whom I know personally, and I just wanted to say that they care as much about Attleboro Public Schools as anybody, and if I tap into their collective skill sets, I know I'll be better and more effective at my job. As Mr. Rooney referenced, I was the head of the English department for more than a decade, and We're a diverse and multi-talented bunch of people, and I believe my station as department head has primed me for my new role here. And of course, lastly, I'd like to thank my family. Jen and my children have been supportive of me throughout the process. When I huddled up my kids to tell them I got the job, they were not without advice. My son Cormac, who's 3 and should be in bed sleeping right now, well, I don't know, he told me that I need to make sure that the kids play every day. And of course, Karen, right over there, she's 8 years old. She wanted me to mention that. She built off Mac's idea and said that she offered some specifics that I need to make sure kids have recess every day. And then Jolene, not to be outdone, she's 6 years old, she further elaborated that we need to have recess with a swimming pool every day. So I said, I don't know about that. We'll see. But you know, little did they know that they were working collaboratively and referencing some of our student exit outcomes, albeit indirectly, right? You know, so, you know, if I can heed their advice and promote curiosity and imagination, play, and character and wellness, both mental and physical, then I might just be on my way to a productive tenure. So, thanks, kids. Just in closing, I'd like to say that I pledge to you this evening that I will do my best and I will seek to perpetually improve. The work ahead is vital, and I know I can't do it alone, and I'm eager to work closely with all the stakeholders, administrators, teachers, students, to make Attleboro High School not only the flagship school of our district, but one for the Commonwealth as well. I'm excited tonight because I believe all of our stakeholders at all levels share this collective goal, which makes us capable of great things. So, thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or Mr. Geddes?
Congratulations, Mr. Gorman.
Thank you.
As Mr. Rooney said, in a lot of ways, this was a trying year for the high school, and I know you know that firsthand. But it hopefully the road will get smoother, but there is a lot of work to be done. So I'm excited that we were able to find a solid internal candidate that knows the district, knows the culture of the school, both the students and the faculty. So congratulations. We're looking forward to seeing what you can do.
I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Mr. Larson?
Good evening, Mr. Gordon. Look forward to getting to know you better now over the next few meetings. I'm sure that we'll be seeing more and more of you. It's always a good thing. I echo Mr. Geddes' comments that I see this position as one that I'm happy that we're bringing somebody in from the high school to this position. I think under the circumstances, that's going to give you the opportunity to really hit the ground running and be a great assistance to Mr. Rooney and his staff. So look forward to working with you, getting to know you better.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mr. Quinn?
Hello, Mr. Gorman. How are you? I've had the pleasure of working with Mr. Gorman on an additional PD project back with design thinking, so I know his capabilities as both a leader and an instructional leader. Sometimes when we're having these interviews or these introductions, one of the questions that's playing in the back of my mind is, does this person really understand what we're trying to do with the strategic plan? And I can answer without a question, yes, this person knows not only what we're trying to do, but how we're trying to get there. And I don't know if any of you had the chance to attend the showcase that the history department put on, but I know I saw Mrs. Scales there. I got there at the tail end, but Mr. Gorman's students were there as well. And you've got a big challenge ahead of you, but I think with the team that we have in place, the leadership team will set the conditions here that our teachers would continue to thrive, and in doing so, our students will thrive. So I'm thrilled that you're here, and again, we look forward to supporting you and whatever you need. So welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So again, congratulations. I'll repeat that and welcome you and look forward to working with you in the future. I'm sure that you'll do a great job. You have a lot of people to lean on for advice and support, and I look forward to your success.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Can't wait for recess in the pool.
All right, we'll go down to number 3 on the agenda, so that Principal Rooney can leave after the fact. He's welcome to stay, of course. It's not a short agenda, so. But that's the MSBA AHS project, and specifically for tonight, it is the revised educational program that was revised as a result of some comments we got back from the MSBA. So I will turn it over to the superintendent and Principal Rooney to explain what's been done.
Thank you, Chairman. You should have received on Friday a red line copy of the ed program with some proposed revisions. And then tonight, when you arrived, you should have received a clean copy that's been massaged for formatting and a couple tweaks that we found since Friday, but substantively not different from what you received on Friday. In terms of the MSBA process, the SBC voted and submitted 6 options back in late March.
Yes.
And to the MSBA for review. And as part of the normal process, we did in early May receive feedback from them over a range of issues, a lot of questions, clarifications, but also, this number is about, over the threshold and those kinds of things. And so part of what Skanska, our OPM, and KBA, our designer, have been working on is responding to that feedback and preparing our next submission, which is going to be no later than Friday, which is called the PSR, which is the Preferred Schematic Report. Do I have my acronyms right?
Yes.
And in that, they will identify the 4B option that both the school committee and SBC voted unanimously to endorse. As part of that submission, though, some of the feedback we received back in May did raise questions about the ed program, and really, again, clarifying questions. Could you explain exactly what you meant by this? Or there were also some things that arose from their feedback that they didn't specifically talk about the ed program, but we realized we could strengthen our ed program by being more explicit about some of the things. So, for instance, is, we have a branch of Bristol County Savings Bank at Attleboro High School, and we have programs, through the math department that allow students to learn banking by doing banking with Bristol County. So, we saw this as an opportunity, this, realization as we go through the process and better understand how this all works, that by going in and explicitly talking about that program, we help to make a better justification for the inclusion of that space in the new project as well. So there's and that's what the red line changes, as you'll find in the newest version, are all an answer to. So there were some changes around. As I've already said, the bank, we talked specifically about Sturdy Memorial Hospital. There's a little bit of clarifying we need to do around scheduling, but nothing that alters in any way the vision that we developed as a team back in September and that you approved in November. So what we're looking for tonight is another approval of these revisions so that we may include this new version in that PSR submission later this week.
Okay, I would, at this point, so that we can open it up for discussion, entertain a motion to approve the revised educational program.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, questions? Mr. Guy?
Not specific to the ed plan, but since no one jumped on it first. I know the SBC and Blue Pride Ambassadors Club had a meeting with Campaign Finance Office from the state of Massachusetts last week.
Wednesday.
Just wondering how that meeting went and folks that are interested in assisting with that, how can they?
Well, I think Mr. Rooney and I were both relieved to learn that we haven't trampled on any state laws yet.
Very relieved, yes.
And, you know, I jest, but we've been very cognizant of that issue, and we thought we were on the right side of things thus far, and it was very comforting to hear the person who gets to decide these things, where the lines are, and we certainly have every intention of staying on the right side of those lines.
And that meeting was taped by AACS, so it is available online for, the people with questions, because it was a pretty thorough presentation.
Yeah. We also are pleased that the group Attleboro for Education has joined in the advocacy efforts, and on the heels of that meeting last Wednesday, the board of directors of the Blue Pride Ambassadors Club and the board of directors of Attleboro for Education met, and they have started the process to formally organize as an advocacy group. Tonight, at 5 o'clock, we had a meeting with two representatives from Somerset Berkeley Regional. They had a project that was approved, although it was a model school. They had a lot of hoops to jump through because they had to regionalize. It was originally just Somerset High School, and then they had to regionalize. And so each of those two towns had to go through either a debt exclusion or an override. So we met with them actually, I left the meeting at 6:35 and they were still meeting. So Mr. Furtado had helped set that up for us with the folks from Somerset Berkeley. And, we're very excited about the advocacy process starting for this project.
Thank you.
Mr. Tyler?
Yes, I just want to kind of make clear that, the original educational program they put was a great work in itself. They're just revising this thing to kind of look into answering some questions that were maybe not anticipated. And I think we need to all realize moving forward that we're in a process we've never been in before of this scale. And this is going to happen time and time again, where we're going to submit exactly what we think we need to submit. There's going to be questions, and we're going to have to rework that a little bit to fit Attleboro's needs. So I just don't want anybody to think that Attleboro High School, especially in the administration, were not prepared to give a great educational program to the MSB when they requested it. They did. It's just been a little bit more refined because we do have some unique things that other schools that are applied do not have. So I want to thank you, both of you and your administration for doing that. But again, it's new, and we're all going to work through this together, and I do appreciate the update.
Yeah, the questions and the requests for clarifications, I think, was expected. It was something our OPM Skanska, made clear to us would happen, and in talking with them after, there was nothing in their comments or questions that was surprising to them. So I think your point is well taken, Mr. Tyler. Yeah, Mr. Quinn?
And just to echo Mr. Tyler's piece, I know that most folks don't want to read through a 47-page document, but what's really interesting to me reading through it a second time is how much more the vision is crystallized. And I think it's probably a good thought exercise for the team that's writing it to really get explicit about what we're hoping to achieve here. And I think that the questions led to some really interesting and clarifying pieces. For me, just looking at the outlining of the X block, looking at, as Mr. Superintendent Sawyer mentioned, the personal finance piece, and what are we going to do? Yeah, not only do we have a bank, but what are we going to do? We're going to bring in a personal finance literacy, and I almost hope that this could be kind of a living document of what else within these criteria could we bring in as we start to evolve over the next next couple of years. So yeah, to your point, Mr. Tyler, that it was more of enhancing an already strong document, and I think will serve the district well, not only from a building standpoint, but what are we trying to accomplish here with this building project?
Great. So the motion on the table is properly seconded, is to approve the revised educational program. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Principal Rooney.
Thank you.
All right, circling back to the top of our business agenda, we have a superintendent evaluation. part of our annual responsibilities is to evaluate superintendent on his, or her, in this case, his performance, report that to him, and then report that to the state as well. I want to thank everybody for their comments and thoughts, and getting back to me their feelings on the evaluation. The 4 areas to be graded in, so to speak: instructional leadership, management and operations, family and community engagement, professional culture, and then a 5th of an overall. There are 4 potential marks you can receive for each: exemplary, proficient, needs improvement, and
Unsatisfactory.
unsatisfactory. I circulated the proposed official evaluation to the committee on Friday, which gave marks of instructional leadership proficient, management and operations proficient, family and community engagement proficient, professional culture exemplary, overall proficient, as well as some fairly lengthy comments and recommendations to reinforce for the superintendent what the many things we believe he did well, that we think his leadership had a big part in getting us through what would otherwise have been but would have been an even more trying year without his leadership, and also some areas that we think he could work on to become an even stronger leader for the district going forward. Does anyone have any questions or comments about what was circulated, the proposed evaluation? We have a motion to approve the superintendent performance evaluation for fiscal for 2016 to 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Quinn?
Just one point I want to make, in the label of proficient is a very high bar to clear. That the state of Massachusetts sets very high standards or high expectations for educators, administrators, and superintendents as well. And I think when we hear proficient, sometimes it's, oh, that person's just proficient at their job. But the level that it takes to achieve proficiency is a really high bar. And then when you reach that level of exemplary, I think the big key definition here is that you could model it for someone else, that other superintendents could come in and see, and this would be somebody who would be an excellent trainer. So I think that proficient is a really strong score, and I would say that given where we are, where we could have been at this point this year, and where we are moving forward, your ability to maintain a professional culture given the challenges is truly exemplary. I wholeheartedly endorse this evaluation.
Mr. Pettis?
Along the lines of what Mr. Quinn just spoke to, a lot of, in conversations I've had with families, with educators, with administrators, there's been a strong sense of the school department being on the same page, top to bottom. Classroom, clerical, maintenance staff, all the way up to the superintendent and up to the school committee. And that is, I think, very indicative of the person in the middle of all of that, which is the superintendent's position. I think, as was said in the evaluation, this could have been a very difficult year. This started out as a very difficult year. But the schools came through it much stronger. And I think the district on the whole is just in a better place than it could have been, and I think, to be honest, for some of us, maybe even a better place than we thought it could be in. But it's very exciting to see where we have the potential to go going forward. So we are, as was said in here, we're very lucky to have you, and looking forward to more strong years ahead. So thank you.
Mr. Tyler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Superintendent Sawyer, he really came in at a great time. His institutional knowledge is huge. This is something we've talked about on many school committees, about institutional knowledge. Dave has it, The one thing I really appreciate about Superintendent Sawyer is his steady demeanor. don't know how to actually express it sometimes. You wouldn't know if the building's on fire or somebody just left a cigarette burning, because he keeps that same demeanor no matter what the circumstance is, and that's hard to do as a person. And he's very good at it. As a school committee member, I will say that his response to the administration has been excellent. They respond. We're not digging for things, or we're not trying to, we're not being put on hold or whatever. We're giving truthful answers, even though sometimes those answers are not hard to say right out front. But we work through it, and that's what we're supposed to do. So I am very happy to have Mr. Sawyer here as our superintendent and his administration. I think they've done a great job. Last year's budget proved that beyond a doubt, that he kept this district in a good place to benefit the students that we're all here for. So again, David, congratulations. I'm very glad to have you, and I wish you many more years in this district.
Thank you.
Mr. Larson?
I agree with all the comments that have come before me, but I always enjoy watching new leaders put together their teams around them. And because to me that's just as important as the person who's putting the team together. And to watch them identify what they need to have around them for additional strengths. And watching the team that's put together, that's here now, under your leadership, is very exciting to me. I mean, I look at your leadership and what you bring to the table, and I look at the people that you've brought into your team. And to me, that's very exciting. And having had the opportunity to watch your interaction with the teachers through lab over these number of years, and watch you bring them to the table through that leadership has been also very exciting. So I just look forward to the future and the continuation of all that, and my congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so we have the motion seconded to approve the performance evaluation for Superintendent Sawyer for 2016-2017 school year. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have number 4 on the agenda, fiscal year 18 budget. Mr. Furtado? So, welcome, Mr. Furtado.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. So, last week, the city council did not pass a budget.
Yes.
However, we know that the result of that deadline passing is that the mayor's budget goes forward as if it
Yes.
was approved, and will be the budget for the city, which means that the budget we submitted to the mayor's office has been put forward, correct?
In the budget book, our budget is $71,659,407.47.
And that is what,
Was brought to the council by the mayor back in April.
right, it's been the number that's been out there, so there's been no changes, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we've already submitted the budget to the request to the administration. However, at this point, now that it's become official, albeit through unusual means this year, we now need to vote to approve the school budget number of $71,659,407.47.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Tyler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark, what is the percentage increase from FY17 to FY18?
1.58%.
1.58. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other discussion? All right, we will do a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Quinn.
Aye.
Yes?
Yes. Aye.
Yeah. Oh. Mr. Tyler?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Withers, I'm going to abstain to the part that deals with pay for the Attleboro Education Association, and will vote yes on the remainder. Mrs. Scales?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Geddes?
Yes.
Motion passes. Mr. Furtado, item number 5, fiscal year 18 athletic user fee update.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I met with the athletic director who had reconciled his user fees for the year, and he had a surplus in the lacrosse account. And as a result, and with an expectation that the participation is only going to get stronger, he requested a reduction in the fees charged to the parents, because the intent is not to operate the program with a surplus, it's to operate the program at break even. And there was a significant amount of money, a few $1,000s in surplus at the end of the year.
So you are looking for a motion to approve the athletic user fees for 2017-2018. That would be status quo for next year, with the exception of lacrosse, which would be a $50 decrease, down to $225 per season.
Correct.
Okay. Do you have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion or questions? Mr. Geddes?
And there is a note on here, just to confirm, this does not count towards family or individual maximums for
Correct.
athletic fees.
Right.
Is that the same as it was this past year as well?
Yes.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Furtado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next, we have our minutes from our June 12th, 2017 meeting. The minutes were circulated with your materials. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Consent agenda. Motion to accept a donation in the amount of $1,000 from the Feinstein Foundation to the Coelho Gifts donation line.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept a donation in the amount of $100 from the Attleboro Arts Museum to the High School Network Program Gifts donation line.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept a donation in the amount of $16,000 from the Hyman Fine PTO to the Hyman Fine Gifts donation line for the purchase of Chromebooks.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
That's an impressive amount for a PTO to raise. Do we know exactly how they came to that amount?
Fun run.
Fun run? I heard it was a success. I didn't know it was that big of a success.
Good for them. Congratulations.
Very well done, Mr. Quinn.
Do we know offhand how, are we buying carts with that or distributing different classes? And that buys us about how many?
A student Chromebook is about $225 per unit, and we are equipping the classrooms with storage units, lockable storage units that
Okay.
also charge the units. So you can put about 8 Chromebooks in the storage units, and that's in anticipation of going, devices in every hand in the future.
These are classroom-based versus mobile storage units, is that correct?
Correct.
So, all right, so it's almost like a classroom set. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve a donation in the amount of $1,000 from the Attleboro Varsity Booster Club to the Spring Boys Girls Track.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept a donation in the amount of $250 from Donna Goldstein to be distributed as follows. $100 to J. Eucatonis and J. Cambridge to be used for any needs in Classroom 209, $50 to Lee Carroll to be used for any needs in the Health Office, and $100 to Karen Spina to be used for the 12 Plus program.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
That concludes the consent agenda. Next we have subcommittee reports. Mrs. Scales?
Thank you. We met on June 20th, and the first order of business was we review policy regulation ADCR Attleboro Health Regulation 23. This has been reviewed by the nurse coordinator and the City Department of Health. There are no recommended edits at this time. So a motion to approve policy regulation ADC R1 with no recommended edits, noting the review date.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we looked at IJNDD, policy on social media. This was reviewed by our legal counsel, and the administration would like us to hold on the approval of this document until the section I is reviewed, which will be next year. So we just tabled that. We reviewed policy JE, which is the student attendance policy. It was recommended that this policy be redesignated and with edits to align with mask. Also goes along with the exhibit to the policy, E1, which is Exhibit A, attendance notification to all Attleboro students. So a motion to redesignate policy JE to policy JH, which is student absences and excuses to align with mask.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And a motion to redesignate policy JEE1 to policy JHE1, Exhibit A, attendance notification to all Attleboro schools to align with mask.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We reviewed, once again, policy JJIB, the interscholastic athletes policy. The athletic director does not recommend the adoption of this policy, and the subcommittee agreed. We reviewed JJIFR, which is the athletic concussion regulations. Again, the athletic director did not recommend the adoption of the document, and the subcommittee agreed. Next, we had a lengthy discussion and review of policy JFAAA, integrated preschool peer model program admission policy, as well as 3 exhibits that went along with it. Also, we reviewed policy JFB, which is continued enrollment of high school seniors. At this time, the subcommittee has decided that we're just going to table those till September. There's a lot more information that we want to review, and we're going to give it a thorough going through and get all the interested parties involved, and we'll tackle it then. Next was policy JICH, alcohol, tobacco, and drug use by students. No recommended edits at this time. So a motion to approve policy JICH with no recommended edits and noting the review date.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Policy JJEA is the Attleboro Schools and School Name Usage. The administration recommends that we remove this from the section, and the committee agreed. We will be revisiting the other policies. It's also in the B and K sections, and we'll review it then. So a motion to review policy JJEA from the policy binder.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We just reviewed policy JKAA, and there are no recommended edits. So a motion to approve policy JKAA, physical restraint policy and procedures, noting the review date.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We reviewed policy JHD, exclusions and exemptions from school attendance. Attleboro actually did not have the current policy, but we're just going to approve the one that mirrors mask. So motion to approve policy JHD as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we reviewed job descriptions for the Assistant Director of Special Education. It was explained that this has no financial impact on the budget, and the goal of this position is to provide succession with the district It should also be noted that there have been past directors who have indicated the need for this position to effectively run the department. We have the Educational Technology Coordinator. This position replaces the vacated position of the Aspen Project Manager. Again, this has no financial impact on the budget. This person will focus on digital learning in the district. And then we have the English as Second Language teacher. We had reviewed this before, but then the interested parties reviewed it. And then we have a student support services and transition specialist that will work within the Attleboro Community Academy. The funds for this position will come from their budget. And then we have a transportation scheduler. This was formerly known as the bus coordinator. And yeah, that's it. So a motion to approve the following job descriptions as presented. Huh?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions?
Yeah, I would just like to say that I appreciate the work of the leadership team, particularly Assistant Superintendent Regan, our Director of Human Resources, Singer, and Ms. Medeiros, the Director of Special Education, for thinking creatively and seeing some of these transitions as an opportunity. And so when you have people leaving, sometimes it's easy just to kind of go and roll with things, but I think it was an opportunity to look critically at what the needs of the districts were, and to do so without adding positions on when we're under tight financial constraints is the type of creative thinking that we need in order to be sustainable in district, and I just wanted to commend you all for that thought process.
Absolutely. Did I say all in favor?
No.
I did. Oh,
No.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. And lastly, we came up with a list of objectives that we want to accomplish for next year. The subcommittee appreciates all the hard work that went into reviewing the policies this past year, and we look forward to continuing the progress we have made in reviewing the policy binder. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Scales. Teaching and learning, Mr. Quinn.
We had a couple items on the agenda to close out the 2016-17 school year. The first was an issue that we heard quite a bit about over the course of the year in terms of homework policy and looking to get parental feedback. Survey was sent out to parents. Close to 800 parents responded from all grade ranges on different areas of the amount of homework, the types of homework. And we went over the survey data, and I think the big takeaway, and I appreciate the chime in from the committee members, is that we talk a lot about time. I think that the focus should be on the quality and making sure that whatever homework that we're assigning is meaningful and relevant and meets our mission and vision. So over the course of the next year, the Teaching and Learning Council is going to look at how we achieve that goal of making homework a better experience both for students and families. They'll meet with focus groups in Thanksgiving, research other communities' homework practices to come up with what seems to be the consensus of not only the communities but also what does research tell us, and then have a plan in place by April for how we're going to be moving forward with it. So I think I commend them for trying to be really thoughtful and to reaching out to parents to get their perspective and trying to find a way to again improve the experience for families. Anything to add on that? The second item on the agenda was the professional development schedule, which is titled, correct me if I'm wrong here, Engage Attleboro. So a lot of it's focused on student engagement, but also, and this is speaking to the community here, that we're going to be looking for ways to bring in your participation. So if you've got an area of interest or area of expertise where you would like to share that with students, I think that's going to be part of that relevant learning piece. And so a lot of the PD is also going to be focusing on technology, social emotional learning, and giving teachers structured pathways so that way they can follow up on what they're learning, because as Ms. Regan's investigation, the research is that one and done PD doesn't work. So what they're trying to do is extend it over the course of the year so that there's more follow-up for the teachers and there's more cohesion across the board. And we're really excited about the possibilities. It was clearly aligned to both the strategic plans and the exit outcomes that are over Mr. Tyler's shoulder over there. So again, it was a good presentation. I'm looking forward to hearing the reports on it. Finally, what we talked a little bit about was CTE and adult learning programs. I'm pleased to announce that we should not necessarily announce, but just inform the community that we have adult learning opportunities going on. We had some this spring, but also there's more coming this fall. Everything to work-life balance, some welding. I believe there was a appetizer and cooking adult learning program. But I think this is important because as we're talking about building a new high school, we want to make sure that this building serves broader. Our primary focus is always going to be the 9 to 12. Those students are always going to be our primary focus. But I think this is evidence that we are trying to look at ways to have the high school benefit everybody in the community, or as many people as possible. And I think where the community can help us is, take a look on our website at these course offerings and what's missing, right? So how can we better serve the community right now, but also in the future as we hopefully get this new building. So please visit our website. I believe it's under the community tab. The fall offerings will be posted over the next couple months. And they're run based on enrollment. So we just want to make the community aware that they still exist, they're still running, but also that we want to expand them based on student community needs. So if you see something that we're missing that we can offer, please let us know. The other piece of this, we were also talking about the CTE program. As noted in the educational plan, we're looking to expand our CTE enrollment to about 50% of our students, which I think is commendable and really exciting for new CTE programs. One thing that we're looking to do is we're looking to draw on the expertise of other districts who have comprehensive high schools about pathways for certification. So that way a student who graduates from our CTE program could be competitive with anybody who's going out into the job market. That's challenging given our existing structures, but I think with the creative thinking that we have with our leadership team, we can start thinking about alternative pathways for those students who are really dedicated to get that certification to go into whatever field it is, that we can kind of help design those paths. And I think it's a long-term play here, but I was appreciative of the information provided by Assistant Superintendent Regan and Ms. Montagno, the Director of CTE, and I'm looking forward to the updates in terms of what they're finding about how other districts, the other 14 or 15 CTE programs tackle these challenges, and then how do we start to phase these in. And then finally, we are in the process of developing a survey to go out to parents about electives, and how they feel about our current offerings, and then as funding allows, where would you like to see us, or as we can reappropriate monies, where can we change or tweak our electives to meet community needs. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Moving on, next on the agenda, we have open forum. Is there anyone here who would like to address the committee at open forum? That will conclude open forum. Next, we have we'll have an executive session. The Attleboro School Committee will convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Sections 21A2 and A3, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with union personnel and to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, respectively, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school committee. The school committee will reconvene in open session following the executive session. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Geddes?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Scales? Mr. Withers, yes. Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Tyler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Take about 2-3 minutes. Okay, we are back in open session, and the final item on our business agenda is contract with the Attleboro Education Association for fiscal years 2018 to 2020. Thanks to the hard work of our negotiating team, Mrs. Scales, Mr. Tyler, Mr. Geddes, and of course our administrators, and the AEA themselves and their leadership. We do have a potential agreement with that body for fiscal years 2018 to 2020. And at this time, I turn it over to Mrs. Scales to introduce the proposed motion.
Thank you. The motion is to approve the contract with the Attleboro Education Association for fiscal years 2018 through 2020 as negotiated and recommended by the school committee negotiating committee.
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, let's take a roll call, Mr. Tyler?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Withers?
Abstain?
Mrs. Scales, yes. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
And Mr. Geddes?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, Mrs. Scales.
You're welcome.
That concludes our business agenda for tonight. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.